doing this video on a blustery day here in Athens, Greece. Hi everyone, my name's Annette, for those of you that don't know me, and I'm the owner of Chandra Ayurveda. Hopefully my computer won't go flying as I'm doing this recording, but I wanted to talk about Ayurveda. What is it? And it is exploding these days. It's more relevant today than ever before because our nervous systems are so wired and so overworked. And Ayurveda is just perfect for a nervous system that is super hyped up and super strung out, like most of us are today. And the reason for that is because information is moving so fast, so quickly. We're traveling, we're on our computer all the time, we're on our phones all the time, and all of this affects our nervous system. And we're multitasking, which is the fastest way to age, and it's one of the causes of diseases according to Ayurveda. So first of all, I wanted to define what is Ayurveda. So according to the Charak Samhita, Ayurveda is basically, it means the wisdom of life. So Ayush means life and Veda means knowledge. So it has to do with how to live with according to nature and in rhythm with nature, and to be wise in your daily life, and to live in a wise way, and to make wise decisions about your own body, your mind, and your life. So Ayurveda addresses not only the gross body, right, the physical body, but it also addresses the subtle body, which, according to Ayurveda, is infinite and never dies. And that's one of the most amazing things about Ayurveda, is that it covers everything: the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, as well as the physical body as well. Personally, I found Ayurveda, or Ayurveda found me, about a little bit over 10 years ago, while I was still a bedside nurse. And when I found it, and it just made so much sense. It resonated so much with me because it was the missing link to health. Because we're always looking at, okay, let's fix the problem if we can, and usually we're putting a band-aid on the problem, but we never quite get to the root cause of why this problem started in the first place, what caused the disease in the first place, and second of all, what can we do to bring back balance, and how do we prevent this from happening again? And this is where Ayurveda is just amazing. It's over 5,000 years old, and wow, it's so windy. But it feels actually really good. It's not cold at all. So it's over 5,000 years old, and the knowledge that these ancient rishis gave to us still apply today, because it has to do with common sense living and understanding your constitution and making the right decisions for your own body and mind. And it is the only modality, it's the only medical system that really talks about rejuvenation and anti-aging, with that being one of its main goals. Because the goal is, okay, we all know that we're going to die one day, but how do we live in full vitality and vibrancy until the end of our days, where we can still continue to do the things we loved in our 20s and 30s, way past our 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And that is where Ayurveda is really on point. It is also the sister science of yoga, so it goes hand in hand together. Yoga is for the mind, and Ayurveda is for the body, and to a lesser degree, the mind. So the both systems together cover the entire human person, the entire, the body, the mind covers the person, right? So Ayurveda talks about basically that there are 3 causes of disease, and that's what I'm going to cover for you right now, because that's what makes it so relevant for you. Why should you know what Ayurveda is about, and why is this important to you? And the reason is because it defines, first of all, it talks about health as not just being the body, but it also has to do with vibrancy of our consciousness, and how can we keep our conscious mind from being in a dark place, but more in a sattvic, more in a balanced place, a place of potentiality, a place of peace, a place of harmony. So it deals with the body, the physical body. It deals with our spirituality. It deals with our consciousness, which is huge. We don't talk about this in Western medicine, our consciousness. Let's see here. I hope the computer doesn't fly away. Okay, so the 3 causes of disease, which are very important, and it's one of the big principles of Ayurveda is what causes disease. Okay, we know what the Western medicine talks about as far as disease, but what does Ayurveda say are the cause of disease? Where it talks about 3 main causes of disease, and the first one is where we forget our true nature as spirit. So this is very important, and the reason why it's important is because we think we are just our senses and our body, and so we're constantly seeking pleasure and misusing our 5 senses. And what are the 5 senses? Well, it's the sense of smell, it's the sense of taste, it's the eyesight, right? Sense of touch, sense of hearing. So we misuse those because we're constantly seeking pleasure, and we're not thinking that we're more than just our body. We're more than just the mind. We are spirit. We are divine, and that this body, this temple is a temple, and that we should really honor it and take good care of it. And the way to take good care of it is to really take care of the 5 senses, because that is where information comes in. Whatever our senses take in can either throw us out of balance or bring us back into balance. So what kind of sounds do we hear? Do we have noise pollution? We have a little bit of that going on right now in the background. Not too bad. What is coming in through our eyesight? Are we constantly on the computer tiring our eyes and aging them too quickly? What are we putting in our mouth? What is the taste that we're putting? Are we using toxic chemicals and using, for example, overusing alcohol? Are we eating too much? What is it that we're putting in our mouth, in our taste, that could be toxic? What are we putting on our skin, right? What are we listening to? We covered that. So it's how we misuse our senses, and usually it's because we're seeking pleasure, and we tend to overdo it with anything that's good. Nothing is necessarily bad for you unless it's done in excess or it goes against your constitution. And I'll talk about what is a constitution here shortly. So if something is coming in your senses and it's not harmonious to your constitution, it can cause a disease. So that's one of the causes of disease. Harmony equals health. Disharmony is disease. Number 2, the second cause of disease is the failure of the intellect. And basically what that means is that we know better, but we still choose unwisely. So for example, we know that if we stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning and then wake up at 6 because we have to go to work the next day, we've only gotten 3 hours of sleep, we're going to feel awful, we're not going to function properly, our brain will be foggy, we'll be super tired, we'll probably end up craving sweets or salt just to be able to keep ourselves going. So we know that that is not good for us, and yet we do it anyway. So failure of the intellect is another cause of disease. If we keep doing things that are against our good, against our health, and the harmonious and keeping our constitution in harmony, and we make these poor choices over and over again, they will lead to disease. Our immune system will get weak, and we'll end up with getting sick, or even getting, God forbid, into an accident because we have lack of sleep. I'm just giving that as one example, but that could be towards anything, whether we're eating the wrong foods, whether we're associating with the wrong people, whether what it could be anything, right? When we know better and yet we still choose unwisely. So failure of the intellect is the second cause of disease. The third one, there we are. The third one is motion and time. So that can cause a disease. So there's 2 different types of time according to Ayurveda. There is chronological time. So that's how many times you go around the sun, how old you are. Not much you can do about that. You're going to get older every year. We can't change that. But then there's biological time. And this is where you can actually control it. And it's biological time that causes accelerated aging and that can cause disease in the long run. What is biological time? Well, biological time is when we are constantly in motion, and not our bodies per se, but mostly our minds. So where we're multitasking and trying to do 2 and 3 things at once. And in our society today, in the West, we think that that is actually a good thing. We think that the more we can get accomplished, the better off we are. Look at me. I can do all these things and I'm juggling all these things and boy, I'm getting all this stuff done. But at the cost of accelerated aging and at the cost of really affecting our immune system and weakening it and increasing that stress that is the silent killer. And stress is behind just about every disease. And so what we say in Ayurveda is move the body, but don't move the mind. In other words, do not multitask, meditate, slow down the mind. Be more in the moment, do one thing well, and then move on to the next. So those are the 3 causes of disease. All right, and now we talked a little bit, I mentioned the word constitution, and basically that is your dosha. What is your main makeup? So in Ayurveda, we say that everything in this world is made up of the 5 elements, and those are earth, water, wind, as you see, fire, wind, and space. So we have the 5 elements, right? I'll repeat them again. Those are earth, water, fire, wind, and ether or space. So everyone is made up of these 5 elements to a certain degree. They just come in varying amounts. And these elements come together to form doshas or forces of energy, which are also causes of disease. And some people have more fire in them. Some people have more earth in them. Some people have more wind in them. Some people have more ether in them. So it just all depends. This is determined at the time of conception. So when these elements come together, they can form, like I said, forces of energy. And we have the 3 doshas, which are made up of the 5 elements. So earth and water combine to create kapha dosha, and fire and a little bit of water come together to create pitta dosha. And then we have wind and space that come together to create vata dosha. So depending on what your constitution or dosha is, then that will determine what qualities you need to stay balanced and what qualities can set you off balance. And so understanding this is the key to knowing how to bring balance and harmony into your system, your mind, your body, and your spirit. And this is where an Ayurvedic practitioner can really help you. You know, doing some of these online questionnaires just doesn't do it. Every time you do them, you probably come up with a different answer, or it'll probably get you even more confused. They don't work really well. So there's many factors to determine your constitution. And it's a little bit more elaborate than what I want to go into right now. But needless to say is that seeing an Ayurvedic practitioner is the best way, because they'll consult with you. They'll ask you about your medical history and your tendencies. They'll take your pulse reading, tongue reading, and just a physical, looking at your physical appearance. They'll take in all these factors to determine your constitution, and also your vikriti, which is where you're out of balance, and to help you create a plan that so you can get back into balance and prevent disease. And if there is disease present, then to be able to get to the root cause of that and hopefully either reverse it or prevent it from getting any worse. So Ayurveda is just brilliant because it works really well with allopathic medicine. It complements allopathic medicine. It complements all other healing modalities. It doesn't really contradict them. It can work really well with any healing modality because it's really at the core of it, it's common sense and how to live in rhythm with nature and understanding your true self. So knowing what can set you off balance because you know your constitution it makes life so much simpler. So knowing that, for example, you have a lot of the fire element and that you can get overheated, which means that you might lose your temper easily, or you can get really critical, or you might get rashes because of that heat, then you know that you need to be able to stay cool, and you seek the qualities of coolness. For example, being in nature, not eating spicy food, avoiding excess alcohol, avoiding situations that can actually set your temper, get your temper up there. So and I'm just making this really, really simple right now. Ayurveda is a vast ocean. There's a lot to it. It never quite ends. The learning never ends. But at the simplest form is to understand what brings you balance and what can take you off balance, because it's the off balance that can bring on disease. But the most important thing that I want to impart to you is how Ayurveda really has to do with the mind, because at the core of it, we say that in Ayurveda, that disease begins in the mind. When the mind is off balance, you make the wrong choices for yourself, you doubt yourself, you can't trust your intuition, and that's when things can become complicated. And that's where we then make poor decisions for our body and for our future and what we're supposed to be doing in this world. And when the mind is out of balance, we're not happy, right? At the core of it, we're not happy. And so we're seeking things to bring us that peace, that happiness, that harmony that we're seeking. And usually we end up seeking the wrong thing, or seeking the wrong people, and making wrong choices, as I said. So understanding yourself, understanding your constitution, and understanding that there are certain laws in nature that we need to live by in order to be healthy, in order to be happy, in order to live a fulfilled life is so important, and it's the key to longevity, and it's the key to preventing accelerated aging, and it's the key to really feeling at peace and in harmony with the world, and to prevent yourself from getting caught up in the dramas of the world. That's so important, because when you get caught up in the dramas of the world, your immune system plummets. So this is what I wanted to impart to you. Well, for myself, as maybe you gathered, I am an Ayurvedic practitioner. I'm a registered nurse. I'm also an Ayurvedic practitioner. But one of the main things that I do is I do a lot of the body treatments, the Ayurvedic body treatments. And this is where people get to really feel what Ayurveda is about, because I use the medicated oils. I make a lot of the oils myself. I make the Nasya oil that we put in our nose. It's the gateway to the brain. So that's one of the most important things you can use, is medicated oil in your nasal passages. It goes right up to the brain and goes into effect right away, pretty quickly. It's a very vascular area here. And anyway, so I do a lot of the body treatments, Shirodhara, Abhyanga. You can go on my website, chandraayurveda.com, to read a little bit more about what are some of the treatments that I make. But they really have a profound immediate effect on people, and they can really sense what it does to their nervous system. Super, super important. And so if you don't know about Ayurveda, I highly recommend that you at least try the body treatments, because you'll get to experience, like physical experience, what it feels like for your nervous system to be super calm, to be super chill, to be super peaceful. And then you can kind of get a little bit of an aha about what Ayurveda is about, is when you actually feel it for yourself. So seek out an Ayurvedic practitioner who does body work near your area. If you're in Long Beach, come and see me. And you can always reach out and ask questions. I also want to say that in 2020, next year, I'll be adding in Panchakarma, which is a special Ayurvedic detoxification. And that's a pretty intense detox. And it's one of the best ways to really bring, to me, it's like the fountain of youth, these detox methods that Ayurveda offers. There's no other healing system that offers these detox methods. And it's the best way to prevent disease, to be able to even reverse some of the diseases, or at least stop them in their tracks, And it's just a great way for the body and mind and spirit to reset. You should be doing a panchakarma at least once a year, and most importantly during the fall season or the spring. Either one, preferably both if you can. Okay, that's all I wanted to share with you for now. Sorry about this wind, but you know, you just got to go with the flow. So anyway, I would love to hear from you. Once again, you can reach me at chandraayurveda.com, and you can email me, or I have a number there that you can call. And I do offer a 15-minute free Ayurvedic consultation. So bring your questions and I'll answer them for you. Namaste.